Hello, this is Odomne, and you're on the YouTube channel of the internet's most notorious ginger man, Thorin.
Right, this is going to be another episode of Reflections, and my guest for this one is Hiiva, who is a veteran support player. And I'll just say at the outset, and it's not like, I will say there's sort of a perception of my Reflections series that it's like legends only or whatever, or you have to have like won the championship or something, which is not actually true. It's just that what I do is I do have that series called Talk to Thorin, where I do almost explicitly on that one, it's like about one topic, or it's like, you know, some new coach or some new player. What people might not know, and this is why I want to do one of these episodes with Hiiva, is he's one of the people who's had a very long career actually in League of Legends. He's been around pretty much almost the whole time in Europe. And also, he's been a coach and behind some of the teams where basically over the years, I would sort of like on my show, like praise like a head coach or some like draft decision, oh, that player must have a great point. And then people would just tell me who were insiders, like, oh, actually, I think Hiiva did the drafting on that, or he was someone who worked with things like that. So I actually think people will find there's some sort of hidden depths here, which, by the way, Hiiva, is entirely on brand for Finnish people. They're kind of a bit, you know, there's not much, you don't get a lot initially, but if you can tease them open, spoiler, if you just get like 3 shots of vodka in them or some schnapps or something, then suddenly it flows out, right?
Yeah. I think that rings a bit true.
Because I'll tell you where I'll start, which is, every time I've seen you professionally as a coach, you did a really good job wearing the suit and looking pro, and people are going to think by that first answer like you're going to be really tentative to speak. But here's the first thing I ever heard about Hiiva before I knew if he was a good player, if he's a coach. You probably know what it's going to be. Everyone said this guy's toxic. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I think you know, that's on me. I'm not gonna, you know, deny or anything. I definitely had a bit of a reputation for my temper and my behavior in solo queue.
What is it though? Like, I'll give you an example, even though it's an extreme one. One of the reasons people don't maybe understand why I'm so critical of like pro players, but for example, I was like friends with and followed the career of Forgiven for a long time. But it's because Hiiva, if I ever talked to him one-on-one, this might sound weird, he definitely expressed himself in an unacceptable and really fucked up way. But actually, I do believe at his core, he always wanted to win. Like, I always thought it was like misplaced frustration, or sometimes it would even be the simple one of like, maybe he just knew how to play the game better than his teammate and he didn't understand the teammate couldn't get there. Was it just lash it out if you would be toxic to people? Did you have some of this to you? Is that why you've become a coach?
It's not why I became a coach, but I definitely like can relate to that. That I just didn't really know how to express myself. When obviously I'm a very, very competitive person, and you know, losing in team or even in solo queue, like I didn't really know how to handle losses properly. And yeah, it definitely took me some time to learn that skill.
One of the cool things about your career is you were in a lot of different teams, and as a result, you got to play with a lot of names who later on became bigger people. So one of the first people I would actually ask about is, back in the day when we had the challenger scene and it wasn't like ERLs, you actually were in a team and went to a DreamHack with 15-year-old Perkz. Luka Perkovic, the notorious at this point in time, he's like evil and toxic as well. But we all remember he won all the championships. What's 50? If Perkz was cocky later, what's 15-year-old Perkz like, mate?
A nightmare. I mean, I didn't really have a problem with Luka. I think some of my teammates in that DreamHack had a bit of an issue with him, but I got along with him really well. But yeah, he was a bit. Well, obviously we were all, you know, young guys, but you know, he was still a bit of a child. So
right.
But yeah, I started playing with him like duo queue, and you know, we got along really well. So
look, I will say, when he first was going to come into the LEC, EU LCS, people back then did tell me, like, look, you have to realize that was the era of like all the legend, you know, Froggen, Aleksi, all the great ones. Everyone told me, oh, him and that February guy will be amazing. And I used to think, oh, they're just doing that thing they do with every rookie. Could you even see when he was a kid? Could you see he had talent?
Yeah, for sure. It was like I said, we played a lot together, like we spammed duo, and I thought this guy was like literally one of the best players on the server. And every team I joined, I tried to get him on board as well.
One of the things people might not know is you also were in the really bizarre one where they had that Gambit where you got to play for them at one point in time. What was the story on that? Was it one where they like had visa problems or something? What was the story on that?
Yeah, so EU or EU LCS used to do these road shows, and they had one in London, and obviously, the Russian Gambit players couldn't get visas, so they just got random solo queue players, me, Lulex, Gapochard, and Fury 3. So at this point, we are basically all for like high rank EU challenger players. Like we've never played basically anywhere. One day get a message on Skype, hey, you wanna come play in London? wanna hop on the next plane and just come play LCS? Yeah.
Was it a lot of pressure? Because as you say, it's not a studio game. You're on like stage in London. That sounds pretty wild, mate.
I think it was the moment that I decided that I want to be like a pro player. When I got on the stage, I was like really mind blown. Like we were playing at the, I don't remember if it's the Wembley Arena or the stadium. There's like two different ones, but if there was like insane amount of people. Like I've never seen this many people, and stepping on the stage and like, okay, like holy shit, I'm here. So yeah, that was like the moment I decided that, okay, like I really want to do this.
And then one thing that's actually quite interesting is you were in one of the early Gamers 2. And I always think people forget the story of that org, because obviously it later became G2, right? But people forget there was actually a gap in the middle. There was the one that was Gamers 2 that was actually Ocelot trying to make a team and qualified at EU LCS. And then there was the later one where Perkz came in and they qualified. But in between, you played in the one in between where it was like coming close to, but it wasn't Ocelot. It was like, and if people don't know, if you go back, like sadly they'll forget this guy at the top lane, but Smitty J actually became a EU LCS player later. He was actually even a decent player. You had Gilius as your jungler, the notorious Gilius, and actually the mid laner was Ica. It was the French guy people know went to the LCS. Give me some thoughts on this team. Like, actually, this doesn't look like a bad set of players. Like, what was it a good team? What was the issue qualifying to LCS?
No, I think we definitely had the individual skill. I mean, the story goes like we were playing the EU Challenger Series qualifier. We were called like a Nevo. I believe the team was called Nevo.
Okay.
And we played the qualifier against Gamers 2. And we beat them. And the next day, or actually, I don't remember if it was the next day or the same day, but we get a call from Carlos saying that he wants to buy our team. And we had a lot of drama with the Nevo owner, but basically we decided to go with Carlos's offer. Basically, it was like we were supposed to fly to like Bulgaria or something to play with the Nevo guys or like with the Nevo organization, and there was supposed to be a gaming house, but I don't believe there ever was one. Good old days of esports where you cannot trust anyone. But yeah, I think we had the individual skill, but this was like days where there was no coaching staff. Like coaches were like someone's girlfriend or something,
right?
Or like there was no like support system. And we are 5 guys that are like from maybe like 17 to 20. Maybe I was the oldest, or maybe me and Smitty. I don't really remember. But we get told that, hey, you guys are flying over to Madrid, to Spain, to play in Carlos's Ocelot's villa. And it's like one of these reality TV shows where you lock 5 people in a house,
right?
And you just throw away the key and just put them in a high pressure environment without any mediator or whatever. Or like we had a manager, but whatever. So yeah, there was definitely a lot of clashes in that house. It would have been funny to see if there was like a hidden camera or something.
Like Breaking Point or something, yeah.
Yeah. Like you could definitely make some good reality TV out of that. So,
were you someone in teams in this area? Like, since you were, like you say, you were one of the older players, were you like a captain type figure? Were you a voice in teams?
Yeah. I always want to, take control or like be one of the guys taking control in the team. And I've always been a big voice in reviews and whatnot, and like trying to help the team on figuring out on how to play the game. I think that's like a skill that I learned from my past. Like I didn't start my esports in League. I started with StarCraft 2.
Right. Okay. So I mean, what you're almost implying there, but you didn't say overtly, is that if you play StarCraft, it's not just a game you spam. Like you think about the strategy and you review the game and like concepts like that, right?
Yeah. It was like, I mean, maybe that was also a bit of a part of like why I maybe wasn't the best teammate, because I was used to playing a solo player or like a single player game. So, I lose a game in StarCraft, I load up the replay, I'll find out in 5 minutes. Okay, what can I do better? What can I change? You have in League, you have 5 people, so it doesn't work like that. So I don't know.
After this, you were also in the team, which if people don't know, was Renegade Banditos, which was the EU Challenger team of Monty's Renegades when he had that organisation. And if people don't remember, actually there were 2 quite famous names in this team. There was obviously Alphari as a top laner, who people will know wasn't that long before he became a very well-known player. But the other one actually was mid lane Caedrel. So give me some thoughts on who these 2 guys were when they were sort of before the spotlight, as it were.
I mean, again, they were just like high elo solo queue players that I don't want to say it like I was the one doing scouting, but I like just spammed like a lot of duo with Alphari. Thought this guy's good. I played a lot with Caedrel as well, but just random solo queue players. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. There's a lot of drama in that team as well. Like it's these old teams. I don't know.
I mean, I know what you mean, because certainly before coaching and before anyone had like discipline power and stuff, obviously it's just like you say, it's like Lord of the Flies. Whoever just battles and wins the argument wins the argument. Like, let me ask you this though: like, they're 2 people from the outside. I know this isn't the case, by the way. That from the outside, people think they're really quiet, Hiiva, because like Alphari just never did media stuff. He just chilled on his own. Even though, by the way, I've heard he's got mega strong opinions. And then actually, even though Caedrel, by the way, has obviously got a lot of charisma now, and people love him. Bro, I could imagine he also someone. I mean, people have seen when he gets mad on stream. I think he's got a bit of spice to him, right?
No, for sure. I mean, I can share like one funny story. Like we were obviously playing like it was like the UK League back then, or like I don't remember what.
Yeah, it's called the ESL Premiership.
Yeah, that one. And we play an official game, and we go into a draft, and it was like the meta where Lucian solo lane. Or like you could play Lucian in 3 lanes. We pick Lucian, and Caedrel wants to play it, and Alphari wants to play it. So instead of just discussing, okay, who's gonna play this, Alphari locks in Ahri for Caedrel and is trying to swap.
Okay.
They decline the swap in an official game.
Okay.
And we load into the game where Alphari is playing Ahri top lane and Caedrel is playing Lucian mid lane. I mean, somehow we managed to win that game, but there was definitely big egos in that team as well, and obviously like you're saying that, or like both of these players are like very, very opinionated and very smart about the game in their own way. So that was. Not to say that there was any toxicity or something like this.
Sure.
Just, yeah.
By the way, one thing I actually noticed about your career is a lot of people only know the EU LCS and the LEC, and they know that kind of closed circuit, and you have to get in, and you're either on a good team or a medium team or a bad team. One thing that's quite cool about your career early on, I noticed, is because you were playing in the challenger scene, a lot of people don't know that's where all the lands were. Like, you played loads of lands, mate, in these years. You're going like a bunch of lands every single year. Like, what did you actually enjoy that experience? Do you think it actually like helps to play LAN as opposed to from your bedroom, for example?
I mean, that's like one of the things that I'm really sad about, that Riot went with them, franchising bat or like the league bat that you play in this Berlin studio, every day or like every week, same setting. Like it was so nice to travel to Paris and play at LAN, and then next month you're playing in Madrid or something, and then next month you're playing in UK or whatever, or like DreamHack. Like, it's super nice to travel, and then you have this like completely different atmosphere and like preparation that you have going into these events, and then obviously you get to meet a lot of cool people in the industry and whatnot. Like, I think it's just I think like the newer players are really like missing out, or like, I don't know if we are ever going back to that old system, but it's just a bit sad.
Yeah. By the way, another player I want to ask about is, I saw after that you then played in a team with Jiizuke, and bro, this is another player where he has his own notorious reputation. He's kind of a crazy guy, right?
Yeah, that was in 4G. Like, I think it was literally his first team.
Oh, wow, right.
Yeah, was another like really mechanically gifted player, like in that sense. Was really fun playing with him, but again, sadly, after one split we had to replace him because there were some issues with he was a bit too crazy in game, let's say. Like, he was really just flipping. Like, he couldn't like let go of that solo queue style of playing, or like this like really high risk, high reward. But yeah, like it just insanely, like back then he was really insane mechanically, even though he was like known for being like an anyone trick. One of his accounts was called like Italian God, I believe. Just literally like 1,000 games of Annie in one split, or like one.
By the way, another thing as well, I was very impressed. This is one of the reasons why I was doing my research. I asked you to do the interview. It's not only had I heard like rumors that people like respected you, but I noticed not only were you in a million teams, bro, when you go to all these like second tier tournaments, you're almost always winning or in the final. You actually have like a very good record at these competitions. Like, did you have like some sort of a knack for competition, do you think?
I mean, like I said, like, I'm really competitive person. Like, obviously everyone is competitive, but
no, but you know what I mean. Some people say that, but then, like, for example, if it's not the right meta, they get like depressed, or if the fucking teammates into them are like, whatever, like, I think everyone says the language, Hiiva, that they're competitive, but I think there's only certain people really do burn,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like a massive cope to say that like it's not the right meta. Like, I'm the type of guy who, I don't care like what patches it's. I don't know. Right. I don't care what season. I will find something that works for me. I will find something that works for my team, and go from there. Obviously, I don't know. I don't want to say I'm lucky with the players that I played, because often I had like a lot of say with who I'm playing these lands with. I don't know.
Well, actually, if I combine the 2 points that you mentioned there, if you're often the captain and the voice, and as we say, you're basically finding all these players before they go to the LCS and the EU LCS, etc., right? Like, I was going to ask, actually, how did you get into all these teams? But is that how you pick the players and you bring them into your team and then they go to another one?
Not always. I think like a lot of these teams are like basically, you're playing solo queue with each other, like you're playing duo queue or whatever, or get to know people, and then you're like, okay, hey, there's a tournament in 1 month. You wanna make a team, and then you just go. like I kind of like this is what I meant, like kind of missing out on this like tournament or like LAN days that every month there would be like a new tournament somewhere and you would be just like making a new team every time. Like that's one of the reasons why my team list is like there's like probably like I don't know like 50 different teams there.
Yes.
Because like every month you're just making a new team for a different LAN or different tournament.
Does that also imply, because this was also actually the downside of having LANs as opposed to like, if you join your team in LCS, you're in the team for the year. Like the downside of having LANs is people, if they don't win the LAN, tend to just split up afterwards, right? And just make a whole new team.
Yeah. But I don't think it's like an issue. I think it's just, different way of approaching it.
I feel like normally people are sort of. Here's the thing, mate. I come from Quake and CS, so I'm very unapologetic. I think the fucking league system sucks, bro. I want to have tournaments every weekend and have them going to different locations, like you say, being staged as much as you can. Sounds like you're sort of a bit of an old school gamer in that sense. You sort of yearn almost for the days of like CS and StarCraft and stuff, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like I really, I mean, obviously, like I'm following a lot of different esports. Like I love following Counter-Strike because I don't know how to say it, but like obviously I've played in league, I've played on big stages and whatnot, but like the feel for like Counter-Strike LANs is completely different. Like it looks so amazing, and I'm just a bit jealous.
Right. What about one thing people might not know is when you were in the team that was NIP, it's just it wasn't like that crazy a lineup. We'll get into it in a second. This is what I will immediately remind people who this team is if they've forgotten. You lost in a EU Masters final to the Mad Lions team, which everyone knows now of, like Crown Shot, Selfmade, Nemesis, like all the ones. It was Whirlib as well, if people don't know, but all the ones that people remember became like the next generation. And this was the one that everyone was saying, like Mad Lions is like the greatest what challenger team of all time, and they're like the super team and stuff. What was it like to play this team? Were they the best?
The Mad Lions guys?
Yes.
No. I think we could have easily won. Like
okay.
Like that final. Like even though we lost 3-0, I think we got a bit outdrafted. I do remember that one. There were some issues in draft, definitely. But I mean, obviously they were really, really, really good. Like they were really good. But I think we were really good as well. Yeah.
Well, in this team, you did also play with like a relatively young Larssen before he actually went up to the LCS level. Who was Larssen?
A really stubborn mid laner. No.
It's not true though, mate. No. It is. Even if he'll argue with like me about stuff, mate.
Like, no. I don't really remember how the NIP thing started. I think I was like contacted by them that if I want to be part of this team. But yeah, again, like another really skilled, like mechanically gifted mid laner. But like the thing about Larssen was, usually when you play with like young people, they are really kind of like I was talking about Jiizuke, like kind of reckless, like this really, really high risk, high reward. Like he was really controlled. Like he already knew how he wanted to play the game, like what his approach was, and he was like really, I don't know how to say, like didn't really want to fight around mid lane, just wanted to get his farm, wanted to outlane the opponent 1v1, didn't really like, I'm trying to play my, Leona or Nautilus or whatever. I'm saying like, hey, I have a timing to roam mid, and it's like, no, don't come mid. Like, let me just play 1v1. Just let me farm up against this guy and be, Chowing plus 50 CS, and, then he'll take over the game. So that was really surprising to me that he was like so, like complete rookie or like young, and was already like kind of very, very disciplined about how to approach the game.
And then you were also in one of the notorious eras. Your first time in the EU LCS was obviously with the notorious version of Origin. Not the cool one with all the great players everyone remembers. The one where, bro, like, if I even look this roster up, it's like, what? It's like someone hit shuffle on, like, players. Because, first of all, there's, like, 2 Korean solo leaders. And one of them, the Nahyun guy, by the way, was actually notorious at the time that, like, every agent was just trying to, like, sell him to everyone in the West. Like, oh, yeah, he can just do everything. He's sick. Then you had Tabs, who at this point in time was, like, years past when he was, like, a top player. And then you had Synkrov, who years later was like in the LCS. What a fucking messy team. Obviously, people know this as the meme team, Hiiva, because Expeke was still around. It was sort of his team, and his mom was in the air. Can you give me some stories? This sounds fucking wild, mate. What even is this team?
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of summed it up. Like, what even is this team? Actually, I didn't play with Synkrov. I played with Wisdom, another Korean jungler. But like, yeah, I definitely felt like in that team that it was kind of a blender, like a solo queue team. Like, it was really hard to make progress as a team in scrims. I don't think it's, I really did enjoy, like, for example, playing with Tabs and Sartorius. Like, I don't think it was like, I think this team was just really put together, like, without like a lot of thought.
Okay.
Like you said, I do have some,
There must be some crazy shit, because I've heard Expect it was a party animal, mate. I think it was wild if you went to the Origin place.
No, nothing about
No? Okay.
Like, I mean, one thing I think I can say now without any harm coming to me. If you go look at the games that we played on stage, there might be like a Misfortune game or a couple of them, because this was like the meta where you played Misfortune support, where I might be ulting backwards, or I might be ulting and instantly cancelling it. That was because I was playing on, I believe, 10,000 DPI.
You should know.
No. I did not have, and again, I will give this disclaimer. This is not because of Riot.
Okay.
I need to say this. This is not because of Riot, because they might get mad at me. This is not because of Riot, but we, or at least I, and Dabs did not have mouse drivers when we were playing on stage. So that was a bit unfortunate for my kind of debut games that I go on stage and I hear.
Oh, so you didn't realize until afterwards that it was set the wrong setting as the premise?
No. It was, let's just say, someone in the Origin management had made a mistake and not submitted the right ones.
Oh, right.
It got fixed on week 4. So,
right. So you just knew it was a problem, but you just had to put up with it.
Yeah.
Didn't that tilt you?
So, yes, a lot.
I can imagine. And the worst thing is, it makes it just look like you're shit because you're just doing the Misfortune all backwards, right?
I mean, yeah. What else? I mean, I'm not gonna, I don't want to name any names, but let's just say we would be playing practice, like we would be scrimming, and there would be someone, again, not naming any names, there would be someone smoking in the room, and we are obviously in a very small, I don't know, like a gaming room, with 5 computers running, it's high heat, whatever, like someone just comes into the room and starts smoking, like, if we lost against G2, there would be people mad at us because obviously G2 had former Origin players, Sven and Miki.
Right.
So that was very unacceptable. A lot of different stuff like that as well. Yeah, I don't know. It was a disaster. But I think the players in that team could kind of make like a support group or like write a book.
Right.
On the, like
Sure.
traumatic experiences.
By the way, just for you personally, in that scenario, you've spent all this time in the challenger scene, you've played with all these people that went to the LCS. Isn't it a bummer to get like a chance in the LCS and you even hear, like if you hear, again, it's the same with Gamers 2. If you hear I get to join Gamers 2 or I get to be an Expectors, or this might sound like you've made it, it's like my chance. How did you handle if you fail like this?
No, I was really, really depressed. Like I was I was ready to like quit it, like quit esports or like quit league. I don't know. I don't know. I think if it wasn't for like afterwards I joined Misfits as a sub or like kind of like as an assistant coach. I think it was if it wasn't for Hussein from Misfits, I think I don't know what would have happened with my life, because I was really like you said, like I've ever since I played the first time in LCS in 2014, like this whole time I've been grinding for this moment. And obviously, like I played shit as well in the games, but there were a lot of things that were not in, let's say, my control or in the other players' control in the team.
Sure.
But it was heartbreaking to, afterwards even, I opened Twitter and there's 15 messages like, oh, kill yourself or whatever,
right.
like you ruined my team, you ruined Origen or whatever. Like, yeah, like nice, great, like, but yeah, I'm just really grateful about the opportunity that Misfits gave me afterwards.
When you came to this Misfits team, if people don't know, at the time they played in the LFL as the LFL was starting to get big. Now, if people don't know, bro, when I went back and looked at 2019 LFL, man, these rosters are fire. Like, loads of these players go to the LCS after this. Like, I can recognize like 80% of the names, Hiiva. Like, they're all pretty good players, actually. Like, this seems like a pretty good league.
Yeah. I mean, that was like 2019. Yeah, I mean, after at that point I had the NIP. I believe I played before that. I played in NIP. And I just get contacted like, hey, we want to be part of this project. Again, like I think Misfits was like one of the first teams that I joined as a player where I didn't know the players basically at all. Like I have played with basically 4 randoms to me, like Dan, Obsess, and Leader.
Yes.
And Neon. And yeah, that was fun. Playing with Leader. I remember playing with Leaders the first when we played the like first 1 month or like something like this. I really wanted to get rid of this guy. Like I really wanted to get him kicked.
Why? He's too toxic?
No, I think like this is like a misconception. I think almost everyone of Leader's teammates will say that he's somehow toxic. He's not. Like I like afterwards, like now, like afterwards, I think he's one of the best teammates I've had.
Wow, right.
I really did enjoy playing with him, but it was just at the beginning. Let's just say I did not know how to play with him, and maybe he did not. Kind of, again, one of these situations where he's like very, very mechanically gifted player.
I mean, put it this way, it's not a meme. I talked to him. He actually would unironically just want to play those crazy like melee champions and assassins all the time, right? No matter what the meta is.
Yeah. And at the beginning, like there was like really no control.
Right.
But like after basically we got a new coach. I don't remember, like after 1 month of play, we got Jesus, and he sat me down and we talked like a lot about the game and about the team and about Leader, and I kind of switched my perspective on him, and I instead of just trying to play for myself or trying to play for my lane and for Neon, I started playing more for mid, or like trying to I don't know, be a bit more broad player, I guess. And yeah, after that it was kind of smooth sailing. But
yeah. Also, by the way, you said there mechanically. I have to say, I'm like low-key a fan of it. It's not least because he's mega entertaining, but bro, like he would really fucking go for it on those, like the fucking Irelia, the Yasuo. Like he had some crazy games in the EU Masters, right?
Yeah. No, like it's so easy to play with a player like him because you know that this guy might just pop off at any moment and win the game, obviously. But I think it's a bit sad, honestly, that he's not playing in LEC. I think I haven't been looking at this. What is he playing in Rudy Sack or whatever those games? But definitely when I was coaching still in FNATIC, like it was nice to see him on Australis. But sad that he's not continuing in LEC. Definitely a player that probably should still be in.
What was it like to actually win EU Masters? Because if people don't know, obviously mainly it was people like Leader that were famous when you won it. But when you won it, it was the one where you beat the SK Gaming Prime team, which, by the way, also had a load of people that people know. Had Zachary was on SK Real after that. Genax was there when he was a mid laner. DOS was there as a support. What was it like to win the league? I mean, the tournament, rather.
I mean, I cried a lot after. I'm not gonna lie, because obviously I had thought that after Origen that my playing is over, or that that I'm dog shit or whatever.
Sure.
I'm trash player or whatever. But it was like kind of proving to myself foremost that it's not this like imposter syndrome, or it's not like luck that you're in this point. Of course, there's always some portion of luck or whatever, but no, I was just like, I think it's literally one of the happiest moments in my life, winning that EU Masters.
Also, this is when EU Masters was pretty big, right? Like the actual event, so the finals would be big. The viewership was pretty big at this time too.
Yeah, we played in Leicester, and it was like really nice, like kind of studio arena thing. Yeah, was really nice, and kind of reminded me of those like old school days where you get to travel to lands and lift a couple trophies.
One of the reasons why, if people haven't noticed, I asked about a lot of teammates, but I haven't asked about many ADCs, even though you're support players. Actually, oftentimes the ADCs weren't the famous players or the ones that went on. But in this team, people will know you had Neon as your ADC. And actually, I mean, sadly, I think he's like leading me. He's another player where I'm like, why is he not in the LEC? Like, this guy's fucking good. Like, what was he like at this point in time? What's Neon like?
Super, super smart. Like, it's like it was so easy. Like, I think this Misfits Premier lineup, I think it's like, obviously I've played like with, I don't know how many players, but a lot. I think it was like my favorite lineup. It was so fun to play with these players. Like, I think we kind of, obviously we had a lot of like drama in the team as well, but we were kind of vibing really, really well with each other. And it was, as like a support in that lineup, when I have a super smart AD carry, and then a mid laner who I know exactly how he's gonna think and how he's gonna play. I'm also not saying that leader is not smart. I think he's a very smart player as well. Just really easy to play. Like really, really nice. And like Neon also, like, yeah, like you gave that guy a lead. Like I basically had a mid laner who, if you gave a lead, he would carry, and I had an AD carry who gave you, if you gave him a lead, he would carry. And then he, like, basically, I've never been the guy who's like a, the laning phase guy. Like, sometimes I'm a bit boosted in lane, not gonna lie. I think a lot of my AD carries would agree that I'm, but
Okay. You're the guy trying to get the roam off to mid, etc., like you say.
Yeah, but Neon was definitely very, very, very smart about laning, so he could kind of control the lane, and it was really easy to play.
I do notice that even though your challenger teams are really good and successful, every time you come close to the LEC, it's always like the fucking cursed monkey paw of like, I want to be in the LEC. Oh shit, not like that. Like, because when you came into this Misfits one, people might remember this. This is where in the spring they had that like super team, which was, they'd spent loads of money on pro. They had like Gorilla there, fucking Soaz, Feb. It was a crazy roster, but obviously failed. And then they did this crazy shit in summer, which people might remember from the leader angle, which is everyone always like was scrutinizing leader when he came in, but I always pointed out, bro, they were like changing the roster in ways like didn't even make sense. Like, it's not like they put the Premier team up because you were good and then gave you a chance. It wasn't like they kept the main roster in. It's like they would take like 2 people out and 1 person out, and they just kept changing every few weeks. Can you give me some thoughts? I imagine it must be hard for everyone in a team to play in an environment like that.
No, it was impossible. It was truly impossible. Like, I know the people in the Misfits really, really well, but that's like one of the things that I never really understood, or like I cannot comprehend like what is happening here. Like, why are we playing this lottery? It's like a roulette. Like, you go to the office and it's like, okay, today you're playing scrims with these people. All right. After 3 games, oh, you're playing with these people. Okay. It was really impossible. Like, I remember me and Febiven, we were like, I don't know, I think we were like on bench or something in one of the scrims, and we were just like in a room and just staring at each other and laughing our asses off, like in an asylum kind of way. Like,
that's how absurd it was, right?
Yeah. Like it was absurd. But yeah, I think it's really sad that we didn't get the chance to keep playing together. Obviously, I don't know if the rest of the guys agree with this, or if I'm the only one in this like nostalgia boat, or kind of romanticizing it. But I really did enjoy playing with those guys, and after we played in LEC, I think we beat like FNATIC, we beat like
there was a couple
Rogue.
of wins. Yeah, there was a couple of big wins.
Like I think we beat like the top teams when I was playing, at least with them, and then we lost to the bottom teams every time. So that was a bit funny. But yeah, I really wanted to keep playing with them in 2020 or like the next year, but sadly didn't happen. Don't know why.
By the way, I mean, when I had a look here, yeah, actually you had like it was only at the end they let you play with Hans Sama. Before that, it was like you and Neon, then he was better. At the end, you got like just the last couple of games to play with him. Like, is that what you mean? Like, this is like the best player you've played with at this point in time, probably, right?
I mean, the funny thing is, like, I had played with Hans Sama before, like a lot as well.
Right.
Like, I played with him like in 2016 when he was like first joining in Millennium, so I already knew him like quite well. And then obviously I had coached him in 2017 in Misfits. So honestly, I don't think there was much of like not to take anything from Hans. Like, he's really insane AD carry. Like, he's super good. But I didn't really feel big difference between playing with Hans or Neon. So
right.
In that sense, like, I guess I'm really lucky that I had two super talented AD carries to to play with.
Sure. Well, I mean, it wasn't long after this that you also then played, before he came to the LEC, with Unforgiven, who was actually another one of those players, by the way. I don't know what happened to his career. I looked good to me in the Mad Lions in the LEC. Then he went to America and he was like benched or something. Then who the fuck knows what happened now? What was Unforgiven like?
He's crazy in the head, but in a good way. Like, in a really, like, I really love playing with players like him who just, they see an opportunity and like, okay, well, he's going for it. He's gonna flash in, or he's gonna, he has this confidence in his play. Maybe for sure not the smartest player. Does a lot of stupid shit, but a shit ton of confidence, which I really do love in a player. Yeah, I don't really know. Again, I don't know the ins and outs why he's not playing in. I mean, I think he was just kind of stacked also with 80 talent, so a bit sad in that regard. But was really fun playing with him.
Since you played for so long and you had your times, you got your chance in the EU LCS, and you had all the times where you're having all the success and coming back through other teams in the challenger scene. What was the trigger point to decide, now I become a coach, I'm not a player anymore? What changed?
Definitely, like the last team I played in was during COVID. You know, going from traveling, you know, all across Europe, going to lands, and then kind of being stuck in home and playing like online during home was really, well, it was depressing. Like I didn't really enjoy it at all. It was really hard for me to kind of force myself to play solo queue. And then, well, one of my really close relatives died during this time, and I, you know, again became like really depressed, and it was super hard to motivate myself to even like start up the client or whatever, and I didn't feel like playing at all, and just stopped playing. And then afterwards kind of reflected that, okay, I don't have the energy or the drive to grind the game anymore, but I do love the kind of theory crafting part, and like still have this competitive drive to try to win Europe and go to Worlds and win Worlds. So then it's like, okay, well, very logical to go back to coaching.
When you started coaching the Misfits Premier team, you had a player in your lineup that I want to ask you about, because I think at this point, partly because of streamers, he's notorious, which is Caedrel, the support player formerly of Vitality. Now, the problem is, he's one of those players, Hiiva, well, you probably know this, but if streamers saw him do like an int or he did like a bad flash, they would make him sound like the worst player ever, bro. So give me some thoughts. Who is Caedrel?
I mean, first of all, I think like I don't know what happened with League, but I feel like our content, or like how people I mean, maybe it's probably comes from pro players, like how we criticize people is like, oh, this guy is boosted, or he's the worst player, or he's inting, or whatever. Like it's like so over the top, you know. So I don't know. I feel like we could be a bit more positive, I feel like, in this scene, and just highlight the good things as well. But definitely like Jacob is like, again, like he's kind of similar. I felt like his playstyle was kind of similar to me, like a very intuitive player. Like when he was kind of in a scenario that he felt comfortable in, like that guy was a beast for sure. Like he would you know, take control. Like he would always take control of the game, like be a big voice in the team, and basically make the game really easy to play for everyone else. You know, which regardless of what role it comes from, but you know, having a player like that is like a big I don't know, positive. Yeah, so I don't really. I think he's like getting a bit. I don't really get the hate. Let's just say.
Kind of made him a meme. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. What about? Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I think he's definitely a very skilled player, and was really lucky to have, or like really fun to have him in that team, and I coach him.
And in the mid lane on this team, you had the future SK Gaming mid laner Sertuss, who, by the way, it just shows, doing these interviews makes me realise how harsh the LEC is, bro. Because if anyone goes back to when Sertuss played in the LEC, he was having like carry games all over the places, and people were like, wow, this is like a up-and-coming player. And then the second that you're out of the LEC, you just don't exist to people anymore. You just disappear, like fade into the background. So who was he before he got to LEC?
A cocky little kid for sure. I mean, obviously, again, like really talented, skilled mid laner, like mechanically really good, but man, I feel like there was like a peanut rolling around in his head sometimes, like no brain activity to be detected. But that's why. I mean, I hope maybe I was able to help in that regard. Maybe not. I don't know. But I feel like he learned a lot in that team. Maybe not from me, because obviously we had a lot of smart players. Like we had like a lot of really smart players in that team, like Zlatan and Jacktroll and Woolite. All really and aggressive and like all of the players really smart. And then obviously Sertuss playing kind of his. I don't remember if he had played in any other teams, but obviously very, very gifted mechanically. But I just remember that guy. I really hate people who are late. Obviously, this is one of these big memes in esports. But like, if we say that practice starts at 12 or practice starts at whatever time, and my mid laner comes 15 minutes late, half of the days, it's gonna drive me mad. But I've heard good things. I've heard good things that he's corrected his face.
By the way, along those lines, what type of once you were no longer a player, what type of coach are you? Like, for example, when you say like you were teaching people stuff, are you kind of like a didactic guy who tries to like break things down and show people? Do you just give people something small? Are you a full-on coach? What kind of coach were you?
I think I still have like a lot of learning to do as a coach. Like I wouldn't call myself like full-on coach, like someone who kind of can. I've had coaches who kind of just by speaking to them about like life, I've become like truly motivated. in that sense, like I don't think I could do that. But when I started coaching, and maybe I hope this, if there's any future aspiring coaches or whatever listening to this, I hope this can help. But I thought to myself, you're the gameplay guy, you're the coach,
right?
You're supposed to know this. So every time there was like an issue or question or like new stuff appeared or the new patch came, I felt like I needed to have the answer to everything. Like I was not fine with myself being like, hey, I actually don't know, but let's find out. And
right.
That was like really nice to kind of learn that I can say to myself, like, or say to my players, hey, I don't actually have the answer to this, but we can work together and find out. We can break it down or like find answers together. So I was, when I started, like I tried to really have an answer to everything. And also like when I was doing reviews, I was kind of going through, I would have like maybe 40-minute reviews. Like I could talk endlessly about the game. And then as time went on, I kind of learned that, okay, less is definitely more in that sense. That just choosing like a key point or like a key idea or concept or whatever, and then just focusing on that and breaking it down is much more valuable than just yapping on for 50 minutes about 50 different topics. So
you can overwhelm people, right, if you do too many topics.
Yeah, for sure. And then it's like afterwards you're like, okay, well, actually I have no clue what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But definitely and still I'm the gameplay guy. Like that's what I truly enjoy, is just breaking down the game and finding new ways to approach things.
Then I need to ask you something along those lines, which is one of the reasons why, like in the earlier parts of your career where you said like there weren't real coaches, and another reason why, by the way, is because back then a lot of players just didn't respect coaches. Like they had that silly idea that players have of like, well, unless you know more than me about my role, like don't tell me how to play, which is like, I'm coaching you, bro. I'm not fucking telling you that. But I know that actually a lot of players, their approach to coaches before orgs, like really like hampered down a lot of discipline stuff, was like they essentially just argue and they sort of say, do you really know what you're talking about? Like, can I argue past this point, or how this matchup works? Were players like that with you at all?
For sure, I've had players who kind of knowledge check you and I've even been warned a couple of times when I joined the team that, hey, this guy might kind of do a little knowledge check on you in the first days of practice. So just be aware, which I think is completely fine. Like I think like if you, I think it just depends on the coach. Like if obviously I pride myself in the game, and if I were to kind of talk out of my ass in like some basic stuff, then yeah, I probably shouldn't be doing my job, right? But yeah, I think it just depends. Like if you have a performance coach or whatever, or like a head coach that is really good with people and really good at bringing people together and leading, then who cares if he doesn't know like some really specific stuff about the game? Like that's not important.
I saw that when you were coaching this Misfits team, it was quite a successful team. Like you won the LFL summer, you won the LFL finals, you made the semis of EU Masters. Like this is some pretty legit results. Also, that summer one, the one that you won, you had to like do like the whole gauntlet run basically. Like was it validating to have success in this team?
Yeah. I mean, winning the LFL summer, like I think for everyone in that team, like the number one thing we cared about was winning EU Masters. And the second one was winning LFL Summer. So, yeah, was really nice, and obviously getting results together, like in that team too. Like it was like super nice. I don't know. All the like we got along really really well. I feel like so that just makes everything feel even better. But yeah.
Was it because of this success that you got the promotion and you came in and you were working with the main Misfits team? Is this why you got like to go up to LEC?
Yeah. I mean, when I joined, it was kind of like I don't know, like an unwritten agreement that if we got results, I would basically have a chance at LEC. So yeah, got results, got LEC.
Because now I've got some questions about the teams that people will know you from, like this Misfits team, that I really want to get into, because there's some players in these teams of mystery. So first of all, your former AD carry, Neon, was obviously in this team. And if people remember, obviously these were the splits where Vetheo had the amazing performances where he'd carry the team fight. But I always said to people, I actually thought Neon always did a fucking amazing job in these team fights, man. Like if you set him up properly, this guy clearly could do all the DPS and stuff. What was he like to coach?
I mean, obviously I had known him from... playing with him in 2019 in Premier, so having that kind of deeper personal connection or like relationship always makes things so much easier. So, and nothing had kind of changed. Like he was still the same Neon that I knew, like really, really smart about the game, really smart about laning phase. So yeah, just easy going.
Right, if I ask you about Vetheo, I feel like this is a player that, like the word in English we'd use is enigma, Hiiva, because he's someone where if you saw him at his best when he was carrying some of these games, like, I did think he deserved to be the MVP, mate. He was fucking amazing. Like this wasn't like the best players in the LEC, but like he was having some amazing fights where he would just carry the whole fight. But I've also heard, I mean, people have maybe seen in some of the later teams he was in, he's certainly not seemingly in one of those mid laners that you can just like drop into any team and go like, yeah, just play. Like it seems like someone where you maybe have to like design things around him or cover weaknesses or help him in certain parts. What would you say about that? What type of player is Vetheo in that sense?
I mean, I for sure agree that he needs kind of, or maybe not needs, but I feel like I'm not going to say that I know what he needs, but I feel like he benefits definitely from having like a structure or like the team built around him. It was kind of hard. Like, okay, let me rephrase this. I've heard people talking about Vetheo saying that he's kind of uncoachable or whatever.
Okay.
I think it's like I think if you're a coach, like you should never use this kind of language, or like you should never say this. That's
too extreme, right?
Yeah, like it's people are different, and it's just about finding ways to work with the player that work for both of you, and obviously I had I had issues working with Vetheo, but I don't think it was because of Vetheo himself. I think it was kind of both of our issue that I didn't find like the right method of coaching him, and that's I'm kind of sad about that in retrospect perspective that I couldn't really kind of connect with him and be the right kind of coach for him. But yeah, definitely when he got his chance, or like when he got his moments, like again, like everyone could see it clearly, that incredible player.
What about the other solo laner? Also seemed like kind of like a tricky player, because the Korean player HiRit, the top laner, what I could never get what this guy Hiiva was. It was almost like I could flip a coin. Some games he would just carry in the LEC and would just smash the other guy, get all solo kills and stuff. But then some games, I have to say, could actually just look bad. Like, can you give me some sense of what type of player he was?
I mean, I'll kind of gonna give like a general thing about this. Like, obviously, I've worked with many Korean players. I've played with Korean players. I've been a player and worked with Korean coaches. I've said this to every team that I've joined. I think if you are gonna have an Eastern player or Korean player or whatever, it can be Chinese, it can be Brazilian, it doesn't matter. Like, you need to have a plan on how to kind of gap this cultural difference or like language barriers and whatnot. Because again, like talking about like how important it is as a coach to kind of know your player and connect with your player, so you can actually work things out and like talk things through and just like find solutions. Not being able to, obviously some people will say, okay, just talk League of Legends, but that hasn't worked for me. Let's put it that way. But that can be a me issue as well. Like, I'm not gonna say it's not a me issue as well. But like, we couldn't really build this connection because of like language barrier and cultural barrier. So yeah, I feel like thankfully we've kind of learned from that. That if you're gonna bring Korean players, like bring Korean coaches or bring coaches or people who can actually speak the language or whatever, so you don't have these issues. But yeah, definitely it's kind of sad with HiRit as well that, like I said, that he could kind of carry games, and then kind of some games he's kind of left on a top lane island going 0-10 and nobody knows how to help him, So and definitely I didn't know how to help him, so
Then also the player who actually replaced him. Now everyone should know he's on Big ES now. It's irrelevant, the top laner. Now what's funny, Hiiva, is I feel like his narrative's really slowly developed in the LEC, because when he came on this team, everyone was like, right, perfect. He just plays like tanks and bruisers and he weak sides all the time. But I think people have seen over the years, like he has like the Jack's secret one trick. He can definitely play some carries. What's irrelevant like as a player?
I mean, when I worked with him, I remember watching his like, I think like HiRit had like he had some flu or some sickness and he could not play like one scrim game, and he subbed in, for like a scrim block or like a day of scrims or 2 days of scrims, and like, okay, like what the hell? Like we have we have this guy in academy. Like holy moly! Like this guy is insane. Like really. It really reminds me of Alphari, honestly. Like he really reminds me of Alphari. Like really has control of his lane. Like was really good at communicating what he needs to build like sizable or even small leads, and then like taking those leads from lane to kind of not to carry the game. I think that was like kind of his issue. Obviously, he's a rookie. Like when I was working with him, like rookie, so kind of expected that the guy is not gonna 1v9 take control of the game, shot call everything, and call everything that he needs to do. But like was really impressed that he was able to build these leads and put himself consistently in situations to take control. yeah, I'm really I don't know, maybe proud is. I'm gonna use the word proud. I'm really proud of his development, and I'm really happy to see that he's having the success that he deserves.
When you were in this team, am I correct? Did Carter, who was the head coach, did he actually win like coach of the split, or was it like coaching staff? Didn't you guys win something like that in one of these splits? Am I wrong?
I think we were second.
Okay.
I think G2 won.
Oh wow! Right. Okay. Fair enough.
Or I don't remember. I think we were second.
Okay. They say no man is an island. We all need people who've got our back. And supporting me and the content on my channel are the following people: Matt Pugnaccio Racula, The Concept, Animosity, Bane Diesel, Ben Glass, Jason, Jensen Go, Tosh, Toucan, and you know it. Always a special thanks goes up to my main man, Jerky's Minion. Do you want to ask a question for my video AMA? Do you want to take part in one of those lengthy discussions where I talk about whatever topics are on your mind? Do you want teasers, find out who the upcoming guests are, or maybe even to suggest a guest or a topic for my content? If any of those perks or others catch your fancy, well, put your money where your mouth is and join the Skrilluminati today, where? In the Patreon link in the description box below.